What's up, y'all? It's Daniel and Kendra here once again, and we are here now for session number two.
Yep.
Right. So last time we were talking about, or we had just started the book, The Good Fight, where it was in session one, we talked about chapter one. And that was, what is a good fight? And what does that look like? Talked about the elements of good fight, CORE. We learned that cooperation, ownership, respect, and empathy. And in session two, or chapter two, or both, what we're going to be talking about is the benefits of a good fight. Right? All right.
That might surprise you. Some of the benefits that might surprise you.
Yes, yes. And one of the top benefits is to cut your divorce rate in half.
Yes.
If you just did that, it would be worth it.
Yeah.
It would be worth it.
Yeah, because conflict is such a big part of why people have so many issues, learning how to manage conflict, how to talk to each other, how to treat each other.
Right. Yeah. Right. How to not have a bad fight. Because when you have a good fight, you actually strengthen your relationship. And so this is, something that we're really excited about talking to you about and kind of sharing with you. And we hope that you will take something from what we are sharing and that it would help you in your relationship.
Absolutely.
I want to go over those key points that we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. So we have 4 different surprising benefits that the book talks about, which again, we are using. This information is from the book that you all are reading. And the book is called The Good Fight by Dr. Les and Leslie Parrott. And so the 4 benefits of a good fight is one of the benefits is that you will become more true and trustworthy with each other, that you will gain more clarity on your issues and what defines you as a couple, that you will remove the smog of resentments and clear the air for a fresh start, and that you will fortify the promise that secures your relationship. So in tonight's meeting, you are going to be talking about these benefits.
And, so think about all those: being truer and trustworthy, having clarity, clearing the air, right? So, sometimes you're walking around on eggshells if you are not in that open and honest relationship. And who wants that, right? No. Who wants to be walking around on eggshells, right? So security in your relationship, all those are good things.
Absolutely.
All those, just hearing it makes you feel good about your relationship. So that's what a good fight will do for you, right? That's what it'll do for you. And so we're going to talk about how that happens a little bit, our own relationship, and something we like to,
use us as examples.
Something from my own life, because we use the personal thing. Yeah. You can't deny that, because it happened to me, right? And it happened to her, and it happened to us. So,
yes.
So we'll share that with you.
The first benefit that we're going to talk about is authenticity.
All right.
Right. So a good fight keeps us real. There was this quote in the chapter that I really loved by Tim Keller, who is a pastor of a church in New York, I believe. And the quote is that marriage does not so much bring you into confrontation with your spouse as to confront you with yourself.
Yes. And it is so true, because when you get married, it's like walking around with a mirror, right? Because a lot of times you might try to lie to yourself, but your spouse a lot of times going to tell you the truth, right? And so you end up having to face that truth because they bring it out. One of the stories in the book talked about a man who was taking credit for something that his wife felt like belonged to somebody else. And she called him on it, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to be called on their stuff like that?
Yeah.
But when you're married, you can't hide, behind even your own lies, because your spouse is there to tell you the truth, to tell you like it is. And even if they don't say it, you see it in their mannerisms, how they feel, and all that. So if you're not walking in truth, then you kind of see the results of it in your spouse, and how they react to you.
Yeah, I like one of the ways they kind of referenced it is in the book is saying your spouse is a witness, right? They're a witness to your life, right? So they see what's happening. They see the things also that maybe you have some blind spots about that maybe you didn't even recognize yourself. I feel that we both have been there for each other, where we can see each other's blind spots.
Yeah. You're just totally naked and
Unashamed.
unashamed,
That's right. That's
right?
what the
Because
that's
your
what the word
spouse sees
says.
you in all your glory,
Yes,
literally,
that's
in the
such a good
physically,
example. Yeah.
emotionally,
Yeah.
spiritually. They see it.
Yeah, bringing out that scripture is really good because you're right. That is a part of being naked and unashamed, right? Is that they get to see you at your best, but they also see you at your worst. So they see you in all forms and facets. And so this is a person who can really help you maybe see some things about yourself that you don't see. And one of the things that the book talks about is that even in the most loving of relationships, truth telling can cause conflict. So it's,
Mm,
in whether you are having a good fight or a bad fight, in both of those you're telling truth, right? You're
right.
telling
Yep.
someone something that is true about them. And sometimes people aren't ready to receive it.
Yeah.
So in a good fight, the person is willing to kind of let down their armor in the situation and in the moment, right? And they're willing to hear what is maybe hard to hear. But in a bad fight, that's when we talked about that pride last time, right? Where we are holding on to things that because we don't want to be vulnerable enough to say, you know what, you're right. This is
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Yeah. And if you're holding on to the pride, it causes you not to grow, right? Because you're not focused on the things that cause you to grow, right? You're not fighting a fight that causes you to be strengthened
Yeah.
when you're holding on to pride. And it also said in that chapter that when you're prideful, you can actually extend your argument way beyond rationality, where you forgot about what you're fighting about, but you still fight because really it's about pride and not about resolving the situation.
Right. And so that's why one of the benefits that we're talking about tonight about being authentic and about being real is you being real and being honest with yourself, being real with your spouse. That is going to benefit your marriage. That's going to benefit all your forms of communication and how you deal with conflict. And yeah.
I like an example that made it really clear to me. When you are in marriage, a lot of times you walk through things that cause, emotional baggage, trauma, or things that kind of pollute you as you're moving along. And he talked about in a storm, sometimes it's good to have a lightning storm because the lightning strikes and it causes negative ions that actually clean the air. And that's why it smells fresh after a good lightning storm, after a good rainstorm, because it's cleared all the bad stuff out of the way. And that's what a good fight will do for you. It'll give you that fresh start.
Yeah, so that's another benefit, right? So another benefit of you learning how to fight a good fight is it's going to clear the air. Nobody wants to be in their own home and they feel like they got to walk on eggshells. So they feel like they can't say what needs to be said to their spouse because you don't know how your spouse is going to respond. They may respond like that column that we looked at the last time of the bad fight, right? And so what a good fight does is it clears the air. It helps remove emotional tension, bitterness, stress, strain, woundedness, bad feelings, pressure, all those things that can choke the love out of the relationship.
Right. Because when you're under those things, even though you desire to love, it makes it more difficult for the feeling of, that come from you loving a person to rise to the surface. Right. Because it's being weighed down by all this other stuff. That's one of the things I appreciate about you, man, is we've always said this, one of the most precious things you can have in your house is peace. Right. So you got so much stuff to deal with in the world, job and people out to not for your best interest, all of these things. But when I come home and close that door, on the other side of that door, I have peace.
Amen.
Somebody that brings me peace, that encourages peace, where I feel peace. So thank you for that.
Thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate that our home is a safe haven. That's really what a big part of what this is all about, right? Us learning how to fight a good fight, because you don't want to feel dread, right? When you pull up to your house and you got to sit in your car for 20 minutes,
gather yourself,
right? Because okay,
put on your armor.
yes, because
you don't wear armor either.
You bet.
Actually, you do need to put on that prayer on, but sometimes
right. And don't get, and I'm not saying that, sometimes you do sit out there, not because, like you're dreading coming in, maybe you're trying to decompress from the day and, you're going to get a lot of questions, but I'm talking about when you feel dread about driving up to your home, right? Mm-hmm. So, but when you have learned how to fight a good fight, you know that you're going into an environment that is going to nurture who you are, that is going to be a safe place for you, where you're going to feel secure. So what was, you and I talked about, like from our own life, some of the things that we wanted to share, like, we like sharing our stories. So what was one of the times that you felt like we needed to have some conversations to help clear the air? I think the one that we kind of settled on talking about was around money, right?
Right. Yeah. Money, and how I'm a dreamer. Yes. When it comes to money.
Yeah. And a risk taker.
I'm a risk taker. Right? So in the area of finance, mm-hmm. money, I dream big. I'm multi-million, billion, out there. Mm-hmm. And early on in our marriage, and even now, I mean, you can tell me if you've shifted toward my way a little bit or not. I have. But Kendra's more like, I don't need all that. I just need enough. Just, and once we get enough, don't risk that. Don't mess with that.
That's right. Leave that alone. Because I tell him all the time, I'm like, look.
And I'm more like, hey, well, if we take this and we do that, then we can get X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. And I've, made some arrangements so that if we lose a little bit, it ain't too much. Mm-hmm. So we end up a lot of times having some fellowship over those.
Yes.
Over that.
Yes. Because I've had a lot of fear around money, where money is concerned, and feeling secure. A lot of people don't necessarily know this, but for the majority of our marriage, the 24 years of our marriage, I was a stay-at-home mom. And so we've always, for the most part, we've lived off of one income our entire marriage. And so we had to be very intentional about how we approached our finances. So whenever we have made riskier decisions where money is concerned, that can cause a lot of insecurity in me. Mm-hmm. And so we've had to work through that. We've had to bring in a mediator, a budget coach, specifically someone to help us be able to talk to each other about money, so that I'm not breaking down every time we talk about money and I'm not crying. Yeah. And also so that you could understand where I was coming from. So you understand, well, you can take the risk, but can we figure out a way to mitigate the risk too, right? How can we minimize the impact that it's going to have on us long term?
And so we had fights over this.
Definitely.
And I had to learn, because I feel like even today, I feel like I'm right, in this situation. But I had to learn how to feel right and not hurt my wife in the process of going, taking our family where I think we need to go, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't need to be a dictator around what we do with our money, right? Yeah. She has input, she has say. I learned that over time, and actually learned to listen, to what she had to say, because it prevents some of the catastrophe that you could run into if you're not on the same page or listening to one another.
And so since you acknowledge me, I want to acknowledge you as well. I will say, in this particular area, you have been so good once you understood where I was coming from. You have been so great about bringing me along in the process and answering whatever questions I have, making me feel a part of what's going on. And I can say, in the 24 years of marriage and in us, figuring out our finances, making pretty much every mistake you can make financially, we pretty much have made it, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. You have never ever said to me, when I was a stay-at-home mom, you have never said, oh, I'm the one bringing in the money, so you just be quiet, or you never made me feel like I didn't have a say because you were bringing in most of the money into the household. Right. Like, you've never done that, and I'm just so grateful to that. And so my insecurity that I've had at times is not because of you specifically, but it's more just about my own understanding about money and that feeling of not having enough and all of those kinds of things that don't necessarily equate to you specifically. Right. So, but yeah, so those are things that we've had to work through. I mean, and that has been something that's been a reoccurring theme for us. And that's why I wanted to share this one, because this is one of the ones that we really have had to have lots of conversations, and not just conversations, but actually getting in there together, figuring some things out. So yeah.
So we went there. All right. So let's go to clarity. What
so that's a benefit, right?
Of clarity.
Right. Yeah. It sheds light. A good fight sheds light on something that we hadn't seen before.
Yes.
And I like basically like the visual of that. It's like a searchlight that kind of zeroes in on the issue of things that are maybe hidden that you don't see or whatever. And so having that conflict, dealing with it, having that good fight around it, maybe bring some things to light that maybe a person didn't see. I just like to think of it this way, is that we really don't know what we don't know. So sometimes you don't even know that there's something there until you have a conversation about it with your spouse. And then once you know better, hopefully you're going to do better.
The thing I really like about this is being aware of it is half the battle.
It is.
Knowing that,
yes,
I can have a disagreement with my wife and it's going to shed some light on some things that I didn't see. Because when you don't know that, you don't get to, a lot of times you don't move in that direction.
Yes.
And so you end up on the bad side of fighting. Versus if wait, I can bring clarity to a situation by having this kind of intense fellowship with you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. But you know what's specifically coming to mind is like sometimes one of the things we've talked about is like there's this subtext, right? So sometimes you're having an argument about something, but that's not really what the argument is about. Not really what you're arguing about. So you arguing about, why didn't you take the trash out? Like, every week I have to tell you, and I'm not saying this to you because our boys do the trash in our house, but that might be an example in somebody's house, right? But what you're really saying is, I feel like you're not carrying your weight in this relationship. I'm the one that's feeling like I'm doing everything, right?
Or why am I the responsible one? Why can't you, take on some responsibility?
Yes. Right? So, absolutely. Yeah. So there's that subtext, and that's definitely something that we definitely have experienced ourselves, and we see it a lot in other couples. Yes. And sometimes what you think you're arguing about is really not what you're arguing about. Yeah.
So clarity is a good one.
Okay. Right. And then the fourth benefit that we wanted to talk about was security. Like, this one is so powerful to me. It makes your marriage stronger because you are going to weather a lot of storms in life together. Right. And I mean, when you think about over the course of 24 years of marriage.
Yes.
You and I have weathered a lot of storms together.
Right. And I think I believe and know the way we get through a lot of it is by sharing in the responsibility of whatever we're going through, not making it about you or making it about me, but making it about us getting to the other side of it. Right. And, we learn that over time, I think, right? Yeah. It's not something we came out of the gate with just, this is just knowledge that we know. No, we went to conferences, we read our Bible, we listened to, others who have gone before us, right? We tried to attach ourselves to people who were trying to do it the way God designed it. Right? Yes. And that's how we learn, to share in our conflict.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
In the book, it gives an example of a soccer ball. Instead of kicking it,
yes, I love that example.
From me to you, we kicked it around together.
Yeah.
Toward the same goal.
Yes. I really, really love that example about the soccer ball because I think it paints such a very good visual, and like we're not afraid in our relationship for us to both be doing the work, putting in the effort, putting in the time, to see things get better, because things are going to happen regardless of what type of person you are or whatever.
You're gonna fight. You're gonna. I like this. I don't know if I read the whole thing, but it's from Dr. Gottman, and it says couples who have healthy fights says Dr. Gottman, develop a kind of marital efficacy that makes the marriage stronger as time goes on.
Now, who is Dr. Gottman?
Dr. Gottman is a marriage researcher. He's referenced by them a lot. They've obviously read his research as well. But he researched, he's a marriage researcher, and he's the one that has, we reference a book by them. What is it called? The 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work. Is that, and that's a good book if you ever want to read a good book on marriage. But just a really good researcher, and a lot of his information we pull from as well, because we really like, he's the one with the love emotional bank account. He talks about that one, but just good stuff there. So but having a good fight can actually strengthen your marriage over time. Having good fights, right? Because every couple is going to have a fight. Every couple is going to get angry with each other, right? It's all about the perspective that you take. And so depending on what perspectives you take will determine if you end up well and strong in your marriage, or weak and unhealthy in your marriage.
And like when you just said that, it made me think about something else that they said about it builds confidence. Like when you are in, you and your spouse, you go through a hard time and you figure out how to work together, right, to move past it, you now have even more confidence in the relationship. You build that promise that you made. So, we all say I do at the altar, right? But we don't know what we're saying I do to. Can I get an amen? Like we don't really know what we're saying I do to, right? But when we go through things together and we figure out how to work together to move past them, we make that I do, that promise that we did at the altar, we make it that much stronger.
When you talked about the vows at the altar, it reminded me of, and I was thinking about this earlier, I just hadn't said it, of through good times and bad times, for better or for worse.
For better or for worse.
The reason it says that is because whether you say it at your vows or not, it's the truth. You gonna go, you're living together for the rest of your life. So you're gonna go through situations that are great and ones that are not so great. And guess what? When you go through them, if that other person is gonna stick with you, they're gonna go through them too.
That's right. That's right. So. And they're gonna be things that are self-inflicted, right? That you guys did to yourselves, right? And then there's gonna be things that happen outside of your control that you couldn't predict it. It wasn't your fault, either one of your faults, but you figured out how to work through it together. All right. So those are the 4. We're going to kind of recap those really quickly for you.
As well, the one at the top of our list, which is it cuts divorce in half. And to me, that is just phenomenal. Because we know marriage is 50%, right? Right now, whether you are a Christian, or a Gentile,
whether you're a believer or an unbeliever,
you are susceptible to this 50% thing. And if you can just grab a hold of this, we cut that in half. Wow, that just cuts divorce down to like 25% if everybody grabbed a hold of it.
And don't you think that just speaks volumes that learning how to fight a good fight can make that big of a difference in your marriage?
Yes.
Right.
And can I get a witness?
We a witness. We are a living witness.
like they saying, I'm a living witness, baby. All right. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, become more true and trustworthy with each other. That's number 1. Number 2, baby.
Gain more clarity on your issues and what defines you as a couple.
Number 3 is remove the smog of resentments and clear the air for a fresh start. And number 4
is fortify the promise that secures your relationship.
All right, y'all. So that's it for Daniel and Kendra. And so we're going to turn it back over to your leaders. And you guys have an awesome discussion. Go deep, get some work done.
Amen.
And we'll see you next time.
All right. See y'all next time. Bye.